Your next step today is to learn how to load your saw. So before we load your saw, let's talk about the different parts of your saw. Whenever you are, there are 3 different points to your saw. So we're going to go ahead and this is, we'll call this is number 1. This is number 2. You can take and make your saw shorter or longer. And this is number 3. This is your final and last whenever you are setting your saw blade. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the saw blade itself. So first of all, you'll notice that it is very, very small and it's very flexible. So with your saw blade, there's a few things that you can do. You can tell that there is a direction to the teeth. Well, first of all, there's 2 different sides to it. One side is nice and smooth. The other side has teeth to it, a serrated edge. If you have your teeth that are facing down, you can go ahead and just kind of take that down with your finger and you won't feel a whole lot, just kind of some roughness. If you take your finger up the other direction, it actually grabs onto your skin and you can kind of feel it as it goes up. Since that's so small, you can also look very, very closely at it. You can see that there's a direction to your teeth. The direction should be facing down for your saw. So what that kind of looks like is if you were to take the back side of the saw, you have one side of the saw that is completely straight, and then the other side is a serrated edge, and your saw blades need to be facing down. So whenever you go ahead and load your saw, you need to remember that your saw blade needs to be down and facing out. So let's go ahead and talk about how to make that down and facing out. So first of all, this is the back of my saw blade. I can take my fingers, there's no grabbing on my fingers. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open the bottom chuck. This is your chuck. We're going to go ahead and make sure that that gets tightened in there. It needs to just fit down at the bottom. You can see it kind of disappears inside of the clamp. I'm going to straighten my clamp out just a little bit. Next, what you're going to do is to make sure that it is long enough, and when it's long enough, it needs to be able to, so you open up this back end down here, and you're going to go ahead and make it, I like to just make it just touch the top chuck up here. So if it's long enough, it's just allowed to touch that top right there. So now I have that correctly done. I can go ahead and tighten that down. Next, what you're going to do is you need to take this, and the only way that this flexible piece of saw blade is going to be able to cut anything is if you put it under some tension. So what I'm going to do is open up this top chuck, the third one here. I'm going to go ahead and put my saw blade in between, and I need to put a little bit of force on this. So I have the head of the saw up here, and I'm going ahead and kind of putting a little bit of pressure on it. The next thing you'll be able to do is you'll be able to test it and see if it is under the right amount of tension. So if I take this and I play it, it should ping, or it should sound more like a harp. If it sounds like a banjo and it has kind of a little bit of a wang to it, then it is not tight enough. So you want it to ping like a harp. And mine definitely sounds more like a banjo. So we're gonna go ahead and I need to make it tighter. I can also kind of feel this. Yeah, I can feel that it's very wobbly in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen it up. A couple things whenever you're doing this. It might have been that it slipped a little bit. If it's touching the screw on the inside of there, then that's probably not good. You need to go ahead and scoot it out a little bit. Sometimes if you've repeatedly tried this and you're having problems, sometimes old saw blades will get broken and the broken pieces will be remaining on the inside of the clamp there with the chuck, and you will probably need to clean that out. So that's one of the most common problems. So I'm going to go ahead and take and tighten this once again. You can see don't want that bow in there on my blade, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it a little bit more. Let's see if it makes a different sound this time. Much different sound. It's still a little bit of a banjo. I could make it a little bit tighter. All right, let's try one this time. That is the correct sound.